Welcome to Table for 92, element number 41, niobium. It's number 41 because it has exactly 41 protons within its nucleus. So niobium is not found in foods. I mean, small amounts, but it doesn't really matter. And niobium has no biological role in the body, but niobium is named after Niobe, a rather tragic character in the Iliad. So we're making some traditional ancient Greek foods mentioned in the Iliad to honor the tragic figure of Niobe. For this feast from the Iliad, this comes from Book 9, where Homer is explaining one of the many feasts they have. It's actually kind of annoying in the writing sometimes, because they always seem to be feasting the same stuff, and it kind of breaks up the storyline. Anyway, quote, "He cast down a great fleshing block in the light of the fire, and laid thereon a sheep's back, and a fat goat's, and the chine of a great hog withal, rich with fat, and Automedon held them for him, while goodly Achilles carved." So referring to a sheep's back and a fat goat's, I'm gonna take that as a lamb tenderloin on the bone still, and goat chops. And for the chine of pork, the chine refers to the backbone, so chops with the backbone still on it, cooked over hot coals. I'm gonna start by seasoning the meat with olive oil, sea salt, black pepper, little lemon juice, and a few other spices they would have had back in the day, like oregano, cumin, and thyme. Just trying to keep it as simple as they did in ancient Greece. And of course, cook them over hot coals. Niobium has a rather interesting and controversial history that kind of highlights the difficulties that arise from the question, who really discovered this? The first time a mineral containing niobium was studied was in 1801 in England by Charles Hatchett. But that mineral, which had been named columbite, was actually discovered in Connecticut maybe 50 years before that and had been donated to the British Museum, but had just been collecting dust. Hatchett found this weird mineral in the museum and did some experiments on the mineral and thought there might be a new metal inside, but was unable to actually isolate it. Nevertheless, he named this new metallic element columbium. A year later, a Swedish chemist, Eckeberg, discovered tantalum, named for Niobe's father in the Iliad. The next year, another English chemist, Wollaston, declared columbium and tantalum to be the same element. This then met with some controversy because whoever finds it first gets to name it. That's how it is in science. That's the rule. You just can't name it after yourself. So the name columbium should have stuck, but for the next 40 years, both columbium and tantalum were used interchangeably. Finally, in 1846, a German chemist, Heinrich Rose, figured out that tantalum and columbium were actually different elements and proposed the name niobium, since Niobe was the daughter of Tantalus. It's very common to find both niobium and tantalum in the same minerals. After all, they're table buddies, so they have really similar properties. But this gets back to the question, who really discovered niobium? Was it the original guy, Hatchett, or should it be Rose, the guy who finally figured out there was no such thing as columbium? Hatchett probably was working with a mix of tantalum and niobium anyway and had not really discovered a single element. It's hard to say, but I think I would go with the last guy, Rose, who maybe not outright discovered the element, but discovered that there was a difference there. But yeah, this is still controversial. Columbium was the name used for niobium in the Americas, while niobium was used in the rest of the world over the next 100 years. Here's a really rather salty argument for columbium in the journal Science from 1914. I quote, "To employ the name niobium is not only unhistorical, but is also rather unfair to the original discoverer, meaningless, and without any justification whatsoever." Ooh, salty. Anyway, screw it, they went with niobium. It was declared the official name for the element in 1950, but columbium is still used in some circles in the Americas. Niobe, rather tragic character in the Iliad. I mean, with the Iliad, it's a war between Greece and Troy, or Greece and Asia, while the gods are taking sides in the war and helping out their friends and screwing over their enemies. Well, Niobe was known for her hubris. She had 7 sons and 7 daughters, which she rubbed in the face of the goddess Leto, who only had 2 children, Artemis and Apollo. Bad idea to piss off the mother of the gods of hunting and archery. And so, Artemis kills Niobe's 7 daughters, and Apollo kills her 7 sons. When the gods finally buried the bodies 9 days later, Niobe turned to stone. You can still see her stone figure crying today. Yeah, there's a limestone formation in modern-day Turkey that kind of resembles an old woman's face, and the porous limestone allows rainwater to drain through it, giving the appearance of tears. This is Mount Sipylus, named after one of the sons of Niobe, actually. Niobium is fairly abundant. There's more of it in the Earth's crust than lead. Niobium has an extremely high melting temperature and stays strong at high temperatures. So Niobium niobium is alloyed with other metals to create super alloys used in industries. I actually caught something pretty interesting watching season 3 of For All Mankind on Apple Plus. Absolutely amazing space exploration show. Anyway, in it, one of the NASA engineers suggests they create a niobium alloy metal for a new spacecraft for re-entry to Earth. And the writers definitely did their homework there. Seriously, if you have Apple Plus, watch For All Mankind right after watching this. Actually, watch Ted Lasso first, then watch For All Mankind. Beautiful. A feast fit for the Iliad. Slicing up this meat, I feel a little bit like Achilles right now. Dealing out the meat. They ate some really unhealthy, fatty food back then, but everybody died at 30, so... So that's niobium, named for a tragic character who pissed off the wrong gods. Incredibly powerful metal used in spacecraft, and despite all the controversy, it is niobium, not columbium. Thank you, and see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Table for 92. It's a fun show.